Picture this. Candle flames flickering like dying stars against stone walls, slick with the chill of impending doom. A young bride's veil trailing like a shroud through halls echoing with forced merriment. Her wedding night loomed not as a union of souls, but a ritual carved in flesh and fear. His legacy of dominance was already etched in her trembling veins before the vows escaped her lips. And that night would unravel threads of empire, staining history's tapestry with crimson regret. Hit subscribe now. 80% miss these shadowed truths from the archive. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Now, let us begin. In the shadowed heart of medieval Europe, where alliances forged in iron outweighed whispers of affection, marriage was a battlefield disguised as a sacrament. For brides, often scarcely more than children, betrothed at ages as tender as 12, the path to the altar was paved with the bones of autonomy. Take the grim custom in 12th century England and France, where noble families sealed pacts through the exchange of daughters, their worth measured in dowries of land and gold that decayed even as vows were spoken. One major historical beat echoes through chronicles: the betrothal of Margaret of Anjou to King Henry VI in 1445, a political gambit amid the Wars of the Roses, where her youth at 15 clashed against the king's fragile mind, setting the stage for a union that birthed only turmoil. But for countless unnamed brides across the continent, the true cruelty began not in war, but in the chamber's hush. Psychologically, these brides grappled with a delusion of duty, their minds twisted by teachings that painted submission as divine, yet harbored seeds of rebellion crushed under patriarchal weight. A vivid sensory detail pierced the air: the crimson veil, symbolic of purity, yet pulsing with the foreshadowed heartbeat of violation, its silk heavy as chains against pale skin. The haunting irony lay in the bridal gown's splendor, adorned with decaying gold threads that promised elevation. Unaware, it chained her to a throne of thorns. Her veil was a crimson noose, tightening with every vow. In the name of alliance, flesh became currency, traded in blood. 90% don't know this bloody secret, but you're about to uncover it. The ritual that turned joy into jagged agony. The pacing quickened as the feast unfolded, goblets clinking like rattling shackles, guests leering with eyes like ravenous wolves. Legends whisper of brides dosed with wine laced in herbs to numb the dread, their steps faltering toward the bedchamber. But the cruelty had only just begun. Micro cliffhanger. What awaited behind those oaken doors defied the sanctity of night. Gore infused the anticipation. In one extreme shock moment, a bride's resistance met with a husband's iron grip, fingers bruising like vice clamps on fragile wrists, blood welling from split nails in a silent crimson spray. Fast-paced action surged. Torches flared, crowds pressed. Her gown ripped in haste, exposing vulnerability to the chill draft. Yet, amid this madness, a modern relevance hook emerges. Such rituals of control mirror today's forced marriages in hidden corners of the world, where tradition still sanctions suffering under the guise of honor. The crimson veil fluttered in the draft, a motif of innocence bled dry, repeating in every shadowed glance. But what happened next would shatter illusions of romance. What would you do in her place? Submit or shatter? Comment below and hit that like button if this chills you. Was her fate sealed by tradition, or could rebellion have saved her? Vote in the poll above. The crimson veil falls. The chamber doors creaked open like the jaws of a stone beast, swallowing the bride into a den where privacy was a forgotten myth. In medieval Europe's grip, the bedding ceremony reigned as a spectacle of communal intrusion, verified in chronicles from the 13th century onward, where witnesses, family, clergy, even courtiers, gathered to ensure the marriage's consummation, their presence a blade against the couple's intimacy. One major historical beat thunders from the annals: the 1483 wedding of Anne Neville to Richard III, amid Yorkist intrigue, where the ritual underscored political legitimacy, but for the bride, it amplified the terror of a union born from betrayal and loss. Psychologically, paranoia festered in these moments. The bride's mind, a labyrinth of fear, convinced every eye judged her worth in drops of blood. A vivid sensory detail assaulted the senses. The bed's canopy, heavy with embroidered decay, gold threads fraying like rotting veins, the air thick with incense masking the metallic tang of dread. The haunting irony twisted deeper. The witnesses, meant to bless, became unwitting jailers, chaining the bride to a performance where failure invited ruin. Her bed was a gilded grave, sheets waiting to drink her purity. Ambition's price, a crimson stain on history's page. Soul-crushing betrayal began not in war, but in the whisper of silk against skin. 90% overlook this gore-laced tradition, but delve deeper. The public display of blood-stained sheets, paraded like trophies in Italian and French customs, turned private pain into public proof. Pacing accelerated as the crowd surged, hands stripping veils and garments in ritual undress, laughter echoing like flesh-tearing screams. Legends whisper of brides feigning blood with hidden vials, desperate to evade shame. But the madness had only just begun. Micro cliffhanger. The night's core shock awaited in the shadows. In an extreme shock moment, the consummation turned brutal, his weight pinning her like a stone slab, thrusts ragged as bones cracked under force, blood spraying in a crimson arc across the linens, her screams muffled by a calloused hand. Action beats pounded, witnesses jeered, curtains parted briefly, exposing the frenzy before drawing shut in mock mercy. This echoes a modern relevance hook. The invasive scrutiny parallels today's digital shaming, where women's bodies remain battlegrounds for societal judgment, virginity myths persisting in cultures worldwide. The crimson veil motif lingered, now tangled in the bedposts. A silent witness to the unfolding horror, echoing in every rustle of fabric. What price would you pay for alliance? Your body or your soul? Comment below and smash that like if this haunts you. Was the bedding ceremony protection or perversion? Vote in the poll above. Sheets of blood. Dawn crept like a thief through latticed windows, but for the bride, the night's wounds festered beyond the flesh, seeping into the empire's fragile seams. In the aftermath of medieval unions, failure to produce the crimson evidence invited catastrophe, annulments, exile, or worse, verified in 14th century court records where brides faced accusations of impurity, their families disgraced amid crumbling dynasties. One major historical beat resounds from the 1420 marriage of Catherine of Valois to Henry V, a fleeting alliance shattered by the king's death, leaving her to navigate widowhood's perils, but underscoring how wedding nights birthed heirs or heralded downfall. Psychologically, ambition rotted into delusion post-ritual, the bride haunted by echoes of violation, her spirit fractured yet resilient in silent defiance. A vivid sensory detail clung. The crimson sheets, now stiff with dried blood, their metallic scent mingling with sweat-soaked decay, gold embroidery dulled by the morning's harsh light. The haunting irony deepened. He who claimed her in dominance built prisons of tradition, unaware his own throne rested on her shattered resolve. His crown pulsed with her stolen blood. Rotting ambition fed on bridal tears. Blood-soaked thrones crumbled under the weight of forced vows. 90% ignore this aftermath's brutality, but uncover it. The public parading of sheets in southern Europe, where absence of stains sparked violence, brides sometimes beaten or cast out as defiled. Pacing hurtled forward as crowds clamored outside demanding proof, fists pounding doors like thunder. Legends whisper of self-inflicted wounds to forge the evidence, knives slicing thighs in desperate crimson flows. But the torment had only just begun. Micro cliffhanger. Legacy's cruel twist awaited in the light. In an extreme shock moment, a doubted bride endured examination, fingers probing like iron hooks, tearing delicate flesh in a gore-slick frenzy, screams echoing as blood welled in proof's cruel demand. Action surged. Accusers lunged, sheets hoisted high, her humiliation paraded through streets in a whirlwind of jeers. A modern relevance hook ties this to contemporary issues. Echoes of virginity testing persist in some societies where women face invasive horrors under cultural pretexts, reminding us that history's chains still bind. The crimson veil motif faded, now a tattered remnant on the floor, echoing in the wind down of empires built on broken bodies. As dynasties fractured, brides' silent sufferings whispered through time, their pain the unseen mortar of history's walls. What price do we pay for power today, when traditions still sanction control over consent? Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more bloody truths, and ring the bell to never miss a whisper from the archive. What echoes of this cruelty linger in your world? Comment below and like if this devastates you. Was virginity's proof a safeguard or a sentence? Vote in the poll above, Empire's crimson legacy. Centuries later, the echoes of those chambers reverberated through fractured lineages, where wedding night scars birthed wars and withered thrones. Verified in the 15th century fall of the Plantagenets, such unions fueled the Wars of the Roses, brides' traumas compounding betrayals that toppled kings. One major historical beat culminates in the 1478 marriage of Mary of Burgundy to Maximilian I, a hasty alliance amid invasion threats, her wedding night a pivot in Habsburg ascendance, yet laced with the era's inherent cruelties. Psychologically, betrayal's madness festered long after, brides' delusions of security crumbling into paranoia, their ambitions redirected toward survival. A vivid sensory detail endured, faded crimson stains on archived linens, gold frames cracking like brittle bones, the air heavy with dust-moted ghosts. The haunting irony sealed it. Empires rose on bridal blood, yet decayed from the rot within, chains of tradition binding conquerors as surely as the conquered. Her screams painted walls in eternal crimson. Broken dynasties bled from wedding wounds. 90% forget this enduring horror, but reveal it. The legacy of child brides, some as young as 7 in papal dispensations, their nights initiating cycles of abuse. Pacing climaxed in historical reckonings, courts dissolving unions, brides exiled amid swirling accusations, legends whisper of vengeful spirits haunting halls where sheets once flew like banners of shame. But the final cruelty unfolded. Micro cliffhanger in modernity's mirror. In an extreme shock moment, a repudiated bride faced public flogging. Whips lashing flesh in ripping agony, blood spraying as skin split in crimson ribbons, crowds baying like beasts. Action thundered. Guards dragged, lashes fell, her cries lost in the mob's roar. This forges a modern relevance hook. Today's survivor stories from coercive marriages highlight how medieval patterns persist, urging global fights against child unions and gender violence. The crimson veil motif rusted to dust in time's grasp, yet its stain lingers in collective memory, a haunted reminder of power's price. As archives close on these tales, the wind down reveals unbroken threads. Cruelty's opera fading, but its notes resounding in today's struggles for autonomy. What shadows of this past do you see in our world? Share below. Subscribe now for these devastating dives into history's depths. Don't miss the next crimson revelation. Would you challenge such traditions today? Comment and like if this grips you. Were these brides victims or unsung warriors? Vote in the poll above. Chains rusted to dust.